Drainage District meeting. We have a real short agenda. We have Commissioner Joseph Palacios, Precinct 4, Joe Flores, Precinct 3, and myself. We do have a quorum. Do we have anything on the open forum? Next item is approval of the consent agenda.
There are no concerns. That is the only item we have on today's agenda.
Second.
Been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll go ahead and open up the meeting, regular Commissioners Court meeting for July the 10th. It is 9:30. Roll call, we have Joseph Palacios, Precinct 4, Flores, Precinct 3, and myself, Palacios, Precinct 2. We do have a quorum. Can you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We do have the second team joining us.
Go ahead.
Mr. Prayer.
I don't have it here. Where is Ms. Townsend? Where is Ms. Townsend?
Judge.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know, is it over there? Is the prayer, can somebody please read the prayer? I think it's a part of the deal.
That's it.
Almighty God, we come together today for the good of the citizens of Hidalgo County. Give us your wisdom as we make decisions that will affect them today and in the years to come. Help us to work well together, recognizing that each of us are here because we want what is best for Hidalgo County. We ask for your blessing and your guidance. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. All right, our consent agenda, any concerns, Mr. Ofracio?
Yes, Judge, I would like to ask that consent agenda item 5A, 8C1 and C2, and 8F be pulled for discussion?
All right. What is 5A? I would entertain a motion to approve, subject to those sections.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. What is 5A about?
5A has to do with the membership dues to the Texas Association of Counties. We recommend that an affidavit be submitted for our review, and also the requisition be approved in order to make sure the funding is in place. And I believe this is a countywide membership, so anyone from the court can submit the affidavit.
And the affidavit that you're wanting, you want it to include what, sir?
The affidavit has certain statements that someone makes to the best of their knowledge. One of the items has to do with lobbying, and there are several things that are filled out in the
Well,
affidavit.
this is not the first year we do it. Did you all do it last year?
Yeah,
So why didn't they follow the same procedures?
well, it's the same thing. Every year we get an affidavit submitted.
Well, where's Valde? Go ahead and do it. Can we approve it subject
Yeah,
to,
they can approve it.
move for approval subject to?
Second.
All right, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Make sure we get that affidavit, Marty. Talk to Balde. Whenever
Yeah,
you
no
get
problem.
all right.
Next agenda item, Judge, is the purchasing department, reference the remodel of the existing old administration building. There's not sufficient funding in place for the purchase order, and also there's some issues with the amounts being invoiced.
As
Lee,
far
Maura, you
as
gonna-
the sufficient funding, my staff was dealing directly with Mr. Ray Salazar yesterday about the funding issue for the purchase order. And as far as the first item, Mr. Alcocer asked that no action be taken as far as the invoice is concerned.
So you recommended no action on it?
On one aspect of it. The funding issue, it was being discussed with, as I said, Department of Budget and Management.
With who?
DBM, Department of Budget and Management, for the increase, but I don't know if they're here yet.
Was it approved?
Mr. Salazar was the-
Change order, or, I mean, how did?
No, they're just trying to get enough funding to increase the PO in order to pay.
Okay.
But Mr. Alcocer also had called my office. I apologize, I was out yesterday. But my staff did keep me informed that Mr. Alcocer had asked that no action be taken on the actual invoice itself.
Judge, so I guess there'll be no action on the entire item since they're related. One is an invoice and the other one is a purchase order in order to pay the invoice.
I'll just have it on for next week.
Is that okay?
Yes.
And, you
No
can't have
action.
one without the other?
Yes,
All
that's
right.
fine.
There'll be no action on 8C,
Correct.
The other.
1 and 2.
Yeah. The other agenda item, it's 8F, Purchasing Department for the Border Colonia. And on that one,
Commissioner
we
Flores.
needed a requisition.
Go ahead. That is for your department, and it would be, I recommend that we do it subject to the requisition being submitted. Yesterday, there was some confusion because Ms. Ceballos is out, and she's the one who does submit, but I would recommend that we take action subject to the, anyway, we couldn't proceed with the purchase order,
right.
you know, with the
So moved.
contract
Move for
without the
approval.
PO.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Marty.
And that's all I have, consent.
All right,
Thank you.
ma'am. Okay,
Excuse me.
yes.
The rest of the items have been cleared already.
The rest of the items are regular agenda items. The only, those three were consent agenda items.
All right. Mr. Guerra, item 5.
Thank you, Judge Commissioners. Item 5A, 1 and 2, there's no action at this time unless there is action needed further down the agenda. Item 5B, Head Start, I will actually defer over to Mr. Steve Crane with respect to the settlement and mutual release agreement.
Judge, Commissioners, I'd ask that we move this to later in the agenda. I'm waiting for FedEx package to be delivered over here with the check.
You're waiting for what, sir?
I'm waiting for a FedEx package to be
Oh,
delivered over
okay.
here with a check and a release.
All right.
Okay, so with that being said, we'll go ahead and defer 5B, 1 and 2. 5C for the AgriLife extension, I'm requesting permission for 2 individuals, Christina Perez and Brad Cowan, to travel to Brownwood. This is a county camp. It'll be on July 11th through the 14th.
Okay, move for approval?
Need a second?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Again, for the AgriLife extension, I'm asking for, again, Christina Perez and 5 other employees to travel to Falfurrias, and this would be for a District 12 4-H record book judging. This would be on July 12th.
Move for approval?
Well, then, those are no cost to the county, right?
There's no cost to the county. It's just the use of the county vehicle, the fuel they go up and back, I mean, to and from.
Need a second?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And the last request I'm asking is for Mr. Cowan to travel to Lubbock, and this would be for a TCA AA annual meeting on July 28th.
Move for approval?
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 5D is a request that I'm asking for my Environmental and Safety Department. There is a concern with respect to the Safety Department about the paperwork, but I do want to assure the Auditor's Office the paperwork will be submitted, and there is funding in place for the travel. So with that being said, I'd ask permission for Mr. Martin Ramirez, Armando Guzman, and Rene Parao to attend a smoke school visible emissions workshop, and that would be on July 26th and 27th in Robstown.
Move for approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And item 5E is I'd like to process a payment of claims for Mr. J. Roel Garcia, he's an attorney, totaling $130, and this was for a pre-indictment appointment. The invoice period is June 2008 to July 2008. This obviously would be with the authority of the county treasurer to issue payment after the auditing procedures by the auditor's office are completed.
Move for approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners.
All right. Item 6. Is Bobby here? I think he's outside.
Judge, with your permission, can we do item 16? We've got a little bit of a time element. We've got some guests here that needed to...
Item 16?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir.
Thank you so much. Item 16, Commissioners, good morning. Jaime Longoria with the County Judge's Office. I'm doing this on behalf of Budget and Management. Mr. Cruz is running a little bit late. I'll read the caption. Adoption of an order with respect to Republic Services Incorporated project approving the refunding of Mission Economic Development Corporation solid waste disposal revenue bonds, Allied Waste North America Incorporated project, Series 2007A bonds. Today we have Mr. Lee McCormick, and he is the president of CDA. It's a tax-exempt bond and arbitrage rebate service company to explain what's going on with this item. Mr. McCormick.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Lee
Morning.
McCormick with Community Development Associates. We're actually the financial advisors for the Mission Economic Development Corporation. We are working with them with regards to the proposed refunding of the Allied Waste Series 2007 bonds, which are currently held by Republic Services, Inc., due to a merger in 2008. Republic Services is in the process of refunding the 2007 bonds to take advantage of the current interest rate environment and extend the maturity. As part of the process, we have to go to the 23 cities and counties where each of their facilities are located in the state and have a public hearing held and an approval by the city or county. This is very similar to the process that was undertaken in 2007. All 23 cities and counties approved the project then. To date, we have received approval from 18 of the 23 counties, and the remaining 5 are scheduled over the next week. We did have a public hearing last week with the MEDC. There were no public comments received. And last night, the City of Mission did pass a resolution also approving the bond financing. And Judge, you may recall this request was originally originated by the city manager of the City of Mission a couple weeks ago. Quite simply, we're here to get the approval. It's part of the state and federal requirements for them to continue to have the tax exempt status on the bonds. As with the original financing, there is no risk, no liability to the county. It will not affect the county's bonding capacity or credit rating. These bonds are strictly on the books for Republic Services, Inc. And the total amount of bonds is $56.8 million. Prior to closing, the Attorney General will review all the documents to make sure everything is in order and all of the local approvals are in place.
Why is the county required to act on it?
It's part of the federal, it's a state law required. We are doing a consolidated transaction through the City of Mission's Economic Development Corporation, the MEDC. In order for the MEDC to issue bonds in other jurisdictions, we have to go to either the city or county and have them approve the issuance of the bonds. It's basically a way to make sure that MEDC isn't issuing bonds in another jurisdiction without approval.
Steve, you see any problem with that?
No,
Judge.
we've done this a number of times before. We did it with the Mission Hospital bonds, et cetera. There's no liability to the county. There's no liability to the taxpayers of the county. This is strictly just a requirement of the government code and the IRS code, specifically the TEFRA regulations.
Okay, move for approval.
Judge, the agenda caption doesn't speak about a public hearing.
Doesn't speak about what?
Public hearing. Gentleman mentioned that this is a public hearing that needs to be
This is not a
conducted.
public hearing at this time.
They
This hearing's already been
Sorry?
held.
Been held by the City of Mission. Yes, Steve?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion, does that apply to item 2
1 and
also?
2, yeah.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Commissioners.
All right, let's go back to item 6A.
Morning, Judge Commissioners. Bobby Villarreal with the County Judge's Office. Today we have some amendments, discussion, consideration, approval of amendment to guidelines and criteria for granting tax abatements in Hidalgo County under Chapter 312 of the Texas Tax Code. Under some direction that we received a couple weeks ago from the court in executive session, if you look at the guidelines based on pertaining to the application fee, we were asking that the court approve that the total, if you look at 212B, it says the total tax abatement that the applicant is requesting is less than the capped at $1,000 per year or $10,000 in aggregate over the life of the abatement, that we would waive the $1,000 application fee. And also, if there's a new application that's substantially similar to a prior application, so we have an instance where somebody, everything was the same, essentially all they did was change the lease location. So
Change the what, Bobby?
The lease, the location where they were going to lease.
Okay.
So we didn't want to be punitive with them. We wanted to accommodate that, and that's on that part. And then the other part was the inclusion of value otherwise of eligible transferred property, personal property and capital costs. That was in reference to property that a company would be bringing from outside of our county as new valued property into our county. And with respect to that, the value of that property, that they would provide documentation to the county, and we would value it at a net value of depreciation of such transferred property. Essentially, the book value that they're bringing from out of town, and then it would be the discretion of the auditor to value that property in a reasonable manner. And we have a case where that's going to occur.
You're wanting us to accept the book value as opposed to what the appraisal district may assess it at or something like that?
Based on the net value of what that company is bringing. They have a book value of what they bought it.
Right.
And then they have depreciation of those particular properties. And when they come to our community, then we consider that the capital cost.
Have you looked at it?
Yes, we've had to change the guidelines and criteria. We need to amend those, and the second action would be then to approve the abatement.
So you're okay,
We're
move for
recommending
approval?
Well, and just if I may, I would ask Steve to, I'm not sure if, it's not part of the amendment that we have here today in the exhibit, but we were, I guess, made aware of a situation where there is a difference between a lessor, during in a lease agreement between the lessor and the lessee, and I think Michael can.
Bobby, I didn't know, there's a difference between what?
Well, I think Michael can pass it out to you, the calculation. Yes. And right now, the project that we're looking at, and it'll be in the next item, is that we have real property and personal property. They're going to make an investment of $2.5 million. And if you look at the first value, we're looking at a 50% abatement across the board based on the jobs that they're creating. They're creating 70 jobs. So based on that 50% abatement across the board, it would turn out to be a $7,375 tax abatement. That would equate to $36,875 over 5 years, which is the length of the abatement. However, it came to our attention from the auditor yesterday afternoon that in our policy guidelines, it would only allow for 25% on the cap on the cost on real property for the lessor side, which is that second area you're looking at. And essentially that comes out to $33,188 over the 5 years. Now there's a difference of $738 and $3688 over 5 years. However, I think Keith Patridge is here, and I think he's represented McAllen EDC, and we're looking at, I don't know if Steve would allow this or the court can look at it, but if we can consider the job creation on both sides and level it out to where real and personal property, we can't.
No, because the job creation is strictly part of the lessee's dealings.
Okay.
Job creation does not affect the lessor.
Are you wanting us to approve the 36,875 instead of the 33,188.
That would be my preference. I think that would be Keith's preference.
But I mean, that's what
but-
you're requesting, and that's what Mr. Patridge is here requesting.
Yeah, it's not part of the guidelines that we put in as of
And in
midnight
order
last
to
night.
do
but-
that, we have to amend the guidelines, and that's what that first item is about?
Well,
Yeah.
this chart is from the amended guidelines, correct? That we're asking the court to amend.
I think that this chart referenced 6B, not 6A. You're covering 6A right now, right?
Well, yeah,
Bobby?
but in order to adopt 6B, we would have to adopt 6A.
Right, we need to amend it in order to give them the benefit of that amount that we're talking about.
Yeah, but Judge, but the thing is that the creation of jobs is for the lessee, and the lessor gets the benefit of the capital improvements. And I don't think you can
I
mix
think
and
that's
match.
the issue, is the creation of jobs is for the lessee, not the lessor.
Judge, Commissioners, most of the companies that come in, and when they enter into a lease on an existing building with a developer, normally it's triple net. So the taxes actually is a pass-through by the owner of the building to the company. So the company actually ends up paying those taxes as a separate and apart from the lease rate. So as a result, why the incentive in the past, I believe under past guidelines, we had it was either the number of jobs or investment established the amount of abatement that the county would allow for the project, rather than splitting it out into the building and into the jobs. It was an either or, whichever was greater. That would establish the percentage of abatement. The problem we have, and something that I can see rising from this, is probably not in this case, but in some cases, we have several million square feet of space out there, existing space that's to lease. And if I have a big company coming in where the numbers are much greater than this, and they have a choice of going into an existing building with a lower that maybe is almost exactly what they want, but they're only going to have to put a few $1,000s into that existing building to occupy, or to go out and build a new one, they may go out and build a new one because the numbers may change because of the abatement that comes from that situation. So in this particular case, I think, it would discourage a developer from building a spec building. And that's something we don't want to get into, number one. And number two is the company it becomes pretty difficult to manage when you're looking at real estate values, and you're looking and it's at one rate, and then you look at the job creation, which is another rate. So, I think in past guidelines, we always used to use it as either or. The jobs or the value established the percentage.
Steve,
And
is that
that's
allowed
what
by
this
statute?
amendment will do?
No. And Judge, Commissioners, what I would say, if there's no problem with this one, let's just go ahead and take care of this one, and we can come back and address those issues with a future amendment to the guidelines.
All right, then we do have a motion made by Commissioner Flores, seconded by Commissioner Palacios. As to item 6A for approval, those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye, motion carries. Now let's talk about 6B.
Discussion, consideration, approval of tax abatement agreement between Hidalgo County and Cinch Connectors.
Let's go, yeah, you need to get a little closer. You need to get a little closer.
Closer
You're too far away.
It's a discussion, consideration, and approval of the tax abatement agreement between Hidalgo County and Cinch Connectors, Inc. And essentially what you have there is the abatement. And it's 2 million jobs $2 million in payroll annually, at least for the next 5 years. So that's about 10 million over that period. And we're having an abatement of approximately 33,188 over that period.
Judge, we have a couple of comments regarding that item.
Yes, sir.
One of those is, we've been in communications with legal counsel, and we made some suggestions, and they agree with those. So we would like for those suggestions to be incorporated into the
Was that
agreement.
Mr. Crane?
Yeah, Mr. Crane's office.
Okay.
Deborah,
And they
I believe?
were incorporated as of 11:59
Oh, they were
last night.
Okay.
So everything's been taken care of?
It's my understanding that everything's been taken care of.
Move for approval?
Second.
All right, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Also, the
Thank-
exhibits were attached, Bobby?
Excuse me.
There were some exhibits that were lacking on the agenda.
They were
item?
sent to Monica late
Right,
last night.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, item 7, our DA's office.
Valde.
I will. I'm familiar with the item. It is for the DA's bad check division. They're asking to create 2 temporary positions. Obviously, this would not exceed 6 months and/or 12/31 of this year, and it would be slot T29, T for temporary, and T30.
Move for approval of 7A, 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
Thank you.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 8, our sheriff's office.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Good morning, sir.
Item A8, sir, authorization and an approval to apply to the Texas Local Border Security Program with the Texas Rangers. This is
Second.
And that includes the resolution and item 3.
correct, sir. This is a 7-month grant. It's a no-match grant with the
All right.
amount of $102,897.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item B.
Morning. Approval to create the following full-time positions. Chief of Staff, slot number 370, at $75,000. Approval to waive job posting procedures to fill the Chief of Staff position, slot number 370. Approval for interdepartmental transfer. Approval to revise the salary schedule.
Move for approval?
1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yes.
Second.
All right. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Morning, Sheriff.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Larry.
Is there any other item that you're interested in, Sheriff, that we can move up? All right. Okay. Item 9, our Health Department. Anybody here from the Health Department? Let's move on to item 10, Urban County.
So no action, Judge, on that one?
No action, there's no action item listed.
Good morning, Judge Commissioners. Our first item on the agenda is a request from, requesting exemption from competitive bidding requirements under Texas Local Government Code 262.024A4.
Move for approval.
Second.
Thank you.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 10B, 10A2 is the presentation of the scoring grid for the purposes of ranking 3 firms that were evaluated by the Urban County Program, the Purchasing Department, and the City of Palmview. The firms evaluated were Stames Incorporated, 95.34, Dos Logistics with 90.34, and Javier Hinojosa with 89. Would you like to rank them in that order?
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
The third item is requesting the authority to purchase, to negotiate a professional engineering service contract with the #1 ranked firm of Stames Engineering.
Move for approval?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
For the public's knowledge, I'd like to advise that the street improvement project will be located in J&O subdivision in Palmview. Item 10B is a request on behalf of Precinct 1 for the Monte Alto Fire Department, volunteer fire department that is, requesting authority to purchase fire station equipment, which is bunker gear, from Casco Industries, contract number 363-10, an approved vendor through the county's membership and participation with Buy Board. The purchase is in the amount of $11,731.74.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 11, our Elections Office.
Good morning, County Judge, Commissioners. At this time, we do not have any updates. If you have any questions, feel free to contact our office at 956-318-2570.
Since we have time, you might suggest to Ms. Ramon that we have the locations for voting to avoid confusion. If people are going to be voting in November and we're running the election for, say, school or city and obviously the general, if we could have them in the same location,
Okay.
as opposed to having the voters go to one place and then have to go and get in their vehicle, go somewhere else.
Okay, I will inform her. Thank you.
All right, item 12, our right-of-way.
Yes, Judge, Commissioners, 12A, discussion and authorization for county judge to execute utility easement in favor of North Alamo Water Corporation for the Precinct 1 Sheriff Substation.
Move for approval.
Second.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
couple of questions on that agenda item. One is the legal counsel formal review. Has that been done?
We have,
It has been done.
You haven't?
yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. And also, are we abandoning an easement?
No, we're not.
All right.
We don't abandon an easement. Well, we keep the surface. We're just allowing them to put the water line inside the property because they require something for the fire hydrants.
Okay.
All right, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, sir. Item 13, our WIC program. Ms. Longoria? All right, do you want us, is she coming? All right, then let's move on to item 14, our planning department.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. TJ Arredondo with the Planning Department. Loma Verde number 2 subdivision is a 15-lot residential subdivision located in Precinct 4. It's on mile 22.5 road. The property is in a Zone X. The plat is dedicating 27.5 feet of additional road right-of-way. There are drainage swales being proposed in the subdivision. Water is being provided by North Alamo Water Supply Corporation, and sewage is being addressed by OSSF. The County Advisory Board recommended approval on June 26, 2012.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Raul, Valdez suggested that he could take care of the WIC issue in item 13.
Everything's in order. So, Judge Commissioners, for the WIC Department, it is a nutrition, physical activity, and obesity prevention grant, and that would be Fund 1292. And so they're asking for the grant acceptance. The grant number is 2012-04-1053. The agreement is between DSHS and Hidalgo County Health and Human Services WIC Department, and that amount is $50,000. The period is June 30th, 2012 through June 29th, 2013.
Move for approval.
Second.
And that'll include B and C also?
B and C, the certification of revenues and the appropriation of the $50,000.
All right, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And for the obesity prevention, again, Fund 1292, it's to amend the 2012 budget for the obesity prevention grant. That amount is $8,000. I would also entertain and ask the certification of revenues by the auditor in that same amount, $8,000, and appropriation of funds for the obesity prevention grant in the amount of
Move for
$24,000.
approval
Second.
of A, B, and C.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Valdez. Item number 15, our precinct, County Commissioner Precinct 2.
Morning, Judge Commissioners. Raul Silguero, Precinct 2. This is consideration, discussion, acceptance, and approval of the following. This is Sagu Construction on the South Tower Road project, and this is a change order, acceptance and approval of change order number 3. It's an increase in the amount of $826 for final quality adjustments and authority for the county judge to execute the document.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, next item, 16B.
Morning, Judge Commissioner, 16B1, this is for the Constable Precinct 1 building, based on the direction that court provided last week, is approval of the 2012 appropriation of funds from COS 2006 for the Constable Precinct 1 building in the amount of $49,891.89.
Is that going to be enough to finish it?
It'll be that one and the other, and the second item, A and B.
Okay. Move
It'll
for
be
approval.
enough to cover the construction of the facility and still allows about $30,000 for curb and gutter. We'll probably still need to have some funding for the materials for the parking lot.
Sergio, this is to cover the shortage on the funding, on the building itself,
On the building
right?
itself,
Okay,
correct.
Okay. And we pulled it out of which ones?
The main,
2006?
the 2006 COs, the 49,000 is from the unreserved fund balance that we have, which is mainly the interest earnings. Item B is, the majority of that, 300,000, is from
Okay.
the limestone panel project that we had
Okay.
at the courthouse that we've funded through general fund. And then there's miscellaneous, about 10 other miscellaneous projects that we've pulled that have been completed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
On item B1B is approval of 2012 interdepartmental transfer from COs 2006 from various programs into the Precinct 1 Constable Building in the total amount of $376,191.45.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
On 16B2 is approval to undesignate the amount of $3,827,336.23 in year 2012 for expenditures related to the repairs and maintenance of the county jail. This is from funding from the landmark settlement.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And B2B is approval of the appropriation of funds in the amount of $3,827,336.23.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And for the record, these are dollars that came in from that lawsuit that
Correct.
that we had set aside. All right, thank you. Item 17,
Yes, Martha Salazar for the Purchasing Department. Nothing to report or action to be taken on 17A12, A, B, and C, 3A, B, and C respectively. Item 4, it's acceptance of the scoring and evaluation grid from the designated grading committee for the purpose of Commissioners Court to declare as qualified the sole response received from Valley Coca-Cola Bottling Company Incorporated so as to proceed to the next phase of the procurement process, and that's authority to negotiate.
Move for approval.
Second.
those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And item B would be authority for purchasing to negotiate a contract with Valley Coca-Cola Bottling Company for the provision of services as requested in the RFP.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item B1 is for Precinct 2. This is requesting authority to surplus approximately 39,000 cubic yards of fill dirt loose as calculated by the engineer to be excavated between Minnesota Road and Owasso Roads and between Raul Longoria and Cesar Chavez Roads as identified in the attached map for the purpose of disposition through sealed bids for sale or exchange in connection with the Precinct 2 Minnesota, pardon me.
Approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Marty,
Sir.
there was a draft contract attached.
Yes, there is, and we will get that completely reviewed. We were using an old draft that was approved since 2010, I believe, but there may be some missing language because we were just pasting. But of course, the contract will be approved by legal counsel prior to the release of the packets, including any exhibits that are lacking.
Oh, thank you.
Okay? And this is going
We had a
out.
motion and a second. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item B is requesting authority to advertise that procurement packet.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item C1 is for Precinct 4, approval of plans and specs for the following construction projects, and that is competitive sealed proposals for Hidalgo County Precinct 4, construction of a new multipurpose facility and mechanical shop, and the sealed bids for the Hidalgo County Precinct 4, construction of a new multipurpose facility and mechanical civil site improvements.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Now, on item D for the constable, this is, I don't know what order the court wants to take these up on. We do have that request by a vendor to withdraw their bid based, I believe, on the fact that they missed the addendum 3, and thus I think it impacted their bottom line on their bid. So they're requesting the court permit them to withdraw their bid. Now, we had brought up the subject of possibly redeeming their bid bond. You would have to award to them in order to go to the redemption of the bond. At this point, if you let them withdraw, we have no recourse as far as redeeming the bid.
What are the circumstances? They just
I
didn't
believe
see in the
from
third
what
part?
from what I understand on their letter, there was an addendum 3 issued. I think that they did not take into account addendum 3. There is a $64,000 difference between his apparent low figure and the next qualified bid. And I believe maybe that impacted his bid. I'm only speculating, but it appears to me that that is one of the reasons cited in his letter to the court to let him, to permit the withdrawal of the bid.
All right.
So at this
Before
point,
we
if you
move
let him
on it, I
withdraw.
know we have Mr. Barnes, who,
Nobody told him to pull out or anything.
I'm concerned here that not everybody knows what's going on. You just passed a couple of issues to increase by $400,000 to put money in this account.
are you here to speak on 17D1?
Yes, I am.
All right.
But you voted to move $400,000 from a different account to cover this.
We have not voted yet, Mr. Barnes.
Well, you did vote on moving the 400,000.
On the other one we did.
It was on the budget.
And my question is, that came out of what account? The account to repair the courthouse. I guess the courthouse doesn't need any repair anymore. But my question really is, do we really know what we want to do here? Or do you need to have a workshop or something so everybody can sit down and talk about what is it we want to accomplish?
If I may comment, for starters, there is lack of space for the constable in Precinct 1. It's been an issue for several years, hence the reason why in the previous COs, years before I've been here, they decided to set some funding aside for the expansion of their office and their operations, which is in need, so no doubt about that. Obviously, there is a difference between need versus want. In this case, I think they've done their due diligence to figure out need, and I think they've addressed that. It's unfortunate that when they first went out for COs, and that was past administration, they underfunded the project. I've always recognized it, that there was no way they were going to build it with the funds assessed. So there was always going to be this bridge that we're going to have to cross on getting them the adequate funding to finish this project. That's in fact what we did today, is give them the lack of funding that we didn't put forward in the very beginning from previous administrations. I think the court is willing to work due diligence on the infrastructure, working with Precinct 3 and Precinct 4 to do the pavement, the parking, and everything else that they need. But if we don't do it today, it's still going to be a lingering issue about getting them the space that they need for their operation. So just to answer your question. On the limestone issue, and that was my question, is where they got the funding from. I think it was they estimated those repairs to be far more than what we appropriated, and that's where I'm assuming they got the funds for. That was my question on that earlier. But I don't have a problem with it at this point in time. I think that nobody would dispute the fact that the constable needs the space that he needs.
Okay, we're concerned here that it seems like nobody knows for sure what's going to happen, and now you're transferring money from one account to another.
Right.
In order to cover
I
it.
don't think that's a fair statement, Mr. Barnes, that
Pardon me?
nobody knows what's happening. I mean,
Yeah, and that's the
Okay.
reason why we've taken a couple weeks on this issue to really break it down.
I know, but you've had several conversations at this podium for the last two meetings about what are we going to do?
well, we're trying to, do what
And
you're
that's why I
suggesting
asked,
we do.
maybe you need to do a workshop.
Yes, sir.
Marty, the only thing that I'm concerned about is, I really want to know why the number one bidder pulled out. I mean, we need more information.
Let me, I believe we have it as backup, Commissioner, just a second.
Who is the principal?
And actually, that's a more important question right there.
Just a moment.
Marty, we met yesterday and discussed this item. The question was the bid lacking information? Was it incomplete bid?
It's incomplete because addendum 3 is not in it.
Then it
He
doesn't
didn't
qualify?
submit it.
It
So
should
it
have been.
doesn't, he did not submit addendum 3.
The what?
He did not submit addendum 3.
That's what we're saying. So if it was incomplete, then it shouldn't have been considered, right?
It shouldn't have never been considered exactly.
That
It
should have
wasn't
been picked
considered.
up.
What I brought to you is his request to withdraw the bid.
Yeah, but that was,
That's what I'm bringing to you. I'm not proposing that he is the responsive bidder. I'm telling you that he's requested, and that's the only way he can withdraw a bid.
when did these bids go out? I mean, the packages?
Just a moment.
Marty, but what we're saying is that if you receive bids and one is incomplete, that it should not have been even put into the consideration.
It wasn't put into consideration. I'm telling you that in order to redeem the bid bond,
I understand
you
that.
would have to award to
Didn't we approve it
him.
back then?
No, no,
And he's requesting that the
Low
court
bidder,
permit
he did
him
years,
to
months
withdraw the
ago.
bid. That's because he wants his bid bond back.
No, no,
That's
but what we were saying yesterday was that if you receive several bids and one is incomplete, it shouldn't have been taken out in the beginning and then consider the
Right.
rest of them. That's what we were saying, but.
We
I don't know.
did. That's what you're being told. We are recommending the bid that does qualify and is the lowest bid. I have never proposed that Bougainvillea is one of the bids you should be considering to award. I'm giving you the parameters of how you could redeem the bid bond. I'm not proposing Bougainvillea is the low bidder. I'm trying to recoup from a vendor who's requesting that his bid bond be withdrawn as a possible option for the court to possibly not leave $64,000 on the table, if we could do it. I believe that was my due diligence in presenting it to you.
Who
I
are the-
never proposed him as low bidder.
Who is the principal
Let
in
me- let me-
Bougainvillea?
I'm getting into the backup, Judge.
Compañía ese de letters, Salinas, some guy.
Miguel A. Cisneros is the president of Bougainvillea's Construction.
Have they ever built any buildings for the county before? Nope.
I do not to my knowledge.
Not that I can remember.
No, no, no. But I do want to clarify, I'm not proposing that Bougainvillea be considered as a bidder. I'm telling you the circumstances that would have to occur is what we have now found. If you allow him to withdraw his bid, it's over. You cannot redeem his bond.
Well, and that's the problem there. In the future, such precedents that people can submit bonds and the county's going to continue just, if for some reason they don't fulfill some requirement, they can pull themselves out. It just,
Well, that's what he's
it really
asking
disrupts
for.
the issue.
Right, we
the
could
process.
force the issue, but is it going to be practical and equitable to him? I don't know. It's the court's call. But I have never proposed from the beginning, you do not see him in the bid tab as a possible awardee.
'Cause I think
This
that's-
issue is because of his request.
I think that's always the case, that whoever submits a bid saying, I made an error in my math, so I would like to withdraw my bid, because
It all depends how much
And I
work
will-
they got
at
lined
that
up.
time, we already know the numbers. So he's saying, hey,
And everybody does, it all depends how much work you got lined up.
Where do we
Right, but Commissioner Flores, you brought up a good point. We could press the issue, we could award to him, redeem the bond, go forward, but is he a vendor that we have any knowledge of his working with other political subdivisions? We don't. But it is still your call. I do think, as Mr. Farash is saying, at one point, vendors are going to have to know that the bid bond is there for a reason.
Mr. Crane, there's a question from Commissioner Palacios.
Where do we stand on this legally?
It boils down to this: in order to recover from the bid bond, you have to award the bid to that vendor. And right now, his bid is incomplete because it doesn't have addendum number 3
Addendum 3.
attached to it. So I don't see how you can go after award the contract to the bidder if his bid is incomplete.
That's what I'm hearing from the other people, is that
So
it should be disqualified up front at the beginning and not considered.
Well, that's what Tito said.
that's what I thought. He's not
Should have never been considered.
That's what I thought.
Marty, you
Yes,
know,
sir.
we've been talking about it. Why was he even considered? I mean, he should have just been thrown out.
He's not being
No,
considered.
well, he
Commissioner.
is, because he was the number one. He should have
let me-
never, they should
No,
have just
no,
run that.
No, let me explain
but
what
he's
happened.
not being considered for award.
Let me
I'm
explain
telling-
what happened. Excuse me, let me explain what happened. The bidder started this by asking that his bid be withdrawn. That's the only issue before the court, is if you're going to let this bidder withdraw his bid. That's the only issue on the table.
And that
Well,
was
if it's
my
incomplete-
question to you, is legally, where do
Should
we
not even bring
stand?
it.
Well, what I'm saying, it cannot be considered, the bid bond says to recover on the bid bond, you have to award the bid to the vendor. And the,
Steve, so if we wouldn't complete it, didn't even have to come to Commissioner's Court, no?
I
Because
think
you're the only ones that can
you're the only ones that
allow
can
the withdrawal.
allow him to withdraw the bid.
But if it was an
I cannot-
incomplete bond or an incomplete bid, Why does it even make it to this stage, Marty?
Because he's requesting, because then I can, because
But
he
that
has
should
a bid bond
automatically-
that he wants back, Judge, he needs your approval to withdraw his bid in order to get back his bond.
We're not going to get him to.
Yeah, well,
It ties him up for future bonding issues. He has to have it
So the
withdrawn.
bonding company should have looked at the bid before they even bonded it.
Well, that's a bid bond. It's not
Yeah,
a
well, I
payment
mean,
of performance.
I'm pretty sure.
That's
we
what they
can
look
go
at.
after.
But, I mean, I am not proposing to you, and I never have, that they be awarded the bid. I'm telling you the circumstances that would create that scenario. But formally, you're the only body that can have him withdraw. I do not have the authority to let him go.
So for this instance, I mean, I could understand it now. I wouldn't say that we award because it's not a.
Correct, and
it's
he's
not a correct
asking,
bond.
but you're the only body that
But-
can help him.
but let
In
me-
no way, fashion, or form did we ever propose that he bid, even your recommendation from the architect told you he was considered an unresponsive bidder, not irresponsible, but unresponsive.
Well, let me ask you on another note, what are we going to do in the future to prevent some of these instances from coming up again?
They haven't been that often, but the only thing we can do is, like I say, at one point, if the circumstances permit, redeem the bond.
Marty, if he was.
Which I have suggested before, the court has never gone that route.
If he had been the only bidder,
What would have happened?
yeah, and if he had been the only bidder and we're saying that he didn't qualify because he didn't.
You'd have
bid
to
on-
reject and go out again. But he'd still have to get his bid bond back by withdrawing the bid. That is part of the legal notice. He cannot get his bond back unless you would let him withdraw.
Yeah,
But
but in
that
order
is
for
not
us to
im-
keep it, we have to vote to award it to him.
Correct, if we were in the position to do it. If the circumstances were there, you could go after the bond.
But they're not there.
They're not there. I can't propose that you award, and if you look at the.
Steve says. Steve, what do you think about this?
I don't think you have any choice but to let him withdraw the bid.
Okay, so we need to approve to release it then.
Second.
All right, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Then no action on B because you've taken action on A.
Yeah.
Item C is presentation for consideration and action to award and/or reject the lowest responsible bids individually received for each of the following projects. The first one, your low bidder, meeting all requirements, is Holshimon Limited at $724,000, and that is for the construction of the new Constable building.
Move for approval.
Second.
You take it into pieces, one first?
Yeah, just item one.
All right, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 2 is the one that I think was up for discussion, in which there's a possible no action, but I don't know, Commissioner, if, I know there's only funding for the building at this point.
There's no funding for the
That's what
number
we're
two.
proceeding with to begin
So we're going to
with.
proceed to reject the bids received?
That
Okay,
is correct.
all right,
No
that's
action
what
on
I
two?
need action. So we need action
We
on,
do need to get together and
I believe
work on the
Commissioners
system.
Palacios and Flores just committed to the second phase
Yeah.
on their part.
Except
Right.
except the
That
curb and
could
gutter.
Except, yeah, those elements we
And
discussed.
Valdo's going to
already.
find some money for the materials.
right, that commitment was made last week. Thank you, John.
So I need action to
No
reject?
Well, it'd be action to reject.
There's no action.
Okay, because I have either one that you want to do. Okay, so no action. Then item E, this is recommending award of bid and approval of contract to multiple bidders as reflected in the documentation for the WIC program, and that is for medical supplies. There are 2 bidders. Permit me to get those for you.
We can't hear you, Marty.
I'm sorry, permit me to get those names for you. There are the 2 qualifying bidders in each category for their medical supplies, and those are, my technology fails me here. I've got them right here. They're the 2 low bidders, I'm sorry, can you see them, Sergio? They're on the backup, and I cannot get, my computer is not helping me at all.
We're on number E1. On page
Yes, there's
program?
two under the backup.
They do have backup on.
No, I need the, it'll give me the, no. It's the, here it is. Intrabro is one of them. And the other one is QuadMed. Intrabro and QuadMed. Those are the two low bidders.
So you need action on that?
Yes, I need to award to those.
Second.
All right, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
F1, this is for Colonia Access Program Precinct 1, requesting exemption from competitive bidding requirements under 262-024A professional service.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Presentation of the scoring grid, that is SAM Engineering and Surveying, 99, Dannenbaum Engineering at 90, Terracon at 85. Does the court
Move
wish
to
to
approve the
rank them
scoring
in that
grid
order?
as presented.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Authority for the purchasing department to negotiate a professional engineering services contract with SAM Engineering and
Move to
Surveying.
approve.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 2 is requesting exemption from competitive bidding under 262-024A4 professional service.
Move to approve.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Presentation of scoring grid. This is from the pool of construction materials testing firms, L&G at 99, Robert Kistner 91, and PSI at 89. Does the court wish to rank
Second.
them in that order?
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Authority for the purchasing department to negotiate a professional construction materials testing
Move
contract
to approve.
Second.
with L&G.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
On G1, Colonia Access Program Precinct 3, requesting approval of 2GS LLC, a subcontractor under contract CAP 090 for La Homa Road South for Precinct 3 Border Colonia Access Program Round 3.
Move to approve.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And then number 2 is submission through the recommendation by project engineer Javier Hinojosa of action of change order 1 with contractor signs utility contractors for Munoz subdivision, reflecting an additional 17 calendar days to contract time due to awarded company's division. They were dividing the company and thus resulted in the delay of the start.
It's a typo there, number 17G2A?
17 days.
Yeah. It should be contract number 01 instead of 03.
19. 012019. We do need action.
I move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And then another submission through the project engineer, Javier Hinojosa Engineering, with contractor signs utility contractors for contract number 012020, and that is reflecting an additional 17 days for the same reason
Move
as
to approve.
in
Second.
Check.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
H1, this is Colonia Access Precinct 4, requesting approval of Everly Materials Incorporated, a subcontractor for contract number 123, and that's with Sascon Incorporated. And that's for the road and drainage improvement, construction of Lakeview subdivision.
Move for approval?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item I1, this is approval of an order granting exemption from 262-024A7, an item that can only be obtained from one source.
Move for approval?
Second.
Need a second?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And item B is approval of the source declaration and authority to purchase new and/or use ICX tactical platforms and related equipment, including maintenance, repairs, support items, with said declaration in force until revoked and commencing through requisition number 217667 in the amount of $71,400.
Move to approve.
Check.
Was there action taken? Thank you. That's all I have.
He hasn't called for the vote now. The judge didn't call for the vote.
Okay. Was there a motion?
There's a motion,
And a
second already.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Marty.
Thank you.
All right, under item 18, open forum, our first presenter is Commissioner Joseph Palacios.
Judge, Commissioners, I just wanted to report that yesterday we were blessed by having Commissioner Todd Staples and Senator Eddie Lucio come by our CRC Center there in San Carlos. The Commissioner has started a campaign, the No Kid Hungry campaign, where throughout the state of Texas they've been feeding the children that are located in less fortunate places. The San Carlos CRC Center was one that he visited yesterday. We were blessed by his presence. Also, alongside of that, we have some visitors from the city of Houston, actually. Troy and Jennifer Rollins are here today, alongside with Alicia Rodriguez and Misty Rains out of our office. And they're a different group. Copperfield Baptist Church out of Houston came down here with 22 volunteers. The age range was 9 years old to 65 years old. They've been providing 100 pair of shoes for our summer program kids. At the end of the program, they're here for about a week, and they're going to be giving out about 100 backpacks to the kids in the San Carlos area. They've already given out outdoor soccer equipment and T-shirts, but they didn't want to be recognized. I felt that we should recognize people not living in this area to come down into our area and obviously from the kindness of their hearts give to the children of our county. And I wanted to personally just recognize them for a moment. There were some pictures being presented of them and the good works that they've been doing, but we really appreciate you all, and I just want to take just a moment to recognize you all, that's all. And we look forward to having you all this week. Thank you.
Very much. All right, next presenter is Fern McClarity.
Good morning. My first question here is that you're going to take the courthouse repair money and you're going to use it for a constable building in Precinct 1. They're already in a building. Why in the world would you take that money right now whenever the courthouse over here needs so much repairs? Then you wonder why you need a new one. It's because you won't fix up what we have. You keep spending it in other places. And I do know that that constable could wait just a little while in the building that they're in.
Is there a reason why you didn't bring this up?
Well, I just found out about it, and that's why, and I believe Jim did, so I would just, making
See,
a,
right now, we cannot respond.
I understand
as you
that.
know. Whereas if we had talked about it at the right time.
didn't Jim ask? I was outside.
I'm
Jim,
talking about you bringing it up at this point.
okay, well, that's why he was in the wrong place. I'm sorry. I would have if I had known that he had missed the one we were questioning. But like I say, this is something that y'all need to think about, and was why the people are asking and requesting things. Also, I have a phone call, and I've got some pictures I wanted to give Precinct 1. This is about Seminary Road. This is out in Hargill. They've called 4 times. Y'all answer your phone so often because you told us you're open to the public. The first time was the first week in June.
What road is that?
It's Cemetery Road.
Cemetery Road.
And they said they called you the first week in June, and they've taken pictures. They've got potholes that are getting bigger. The brush along the Cemetery Road is at least 8 foot tall. And the caliche, I couldn't figure out what the picture was because I said, oh, that road looks good. And then I read the caliche is in the ditch. It's not on the road, where I guess you go through and grade it off. So, and they've got huge potholes. And like I say, the caliche is on the side, so.
How old are those pictures?
I got them this morning. They were just taken the last few days, probably yesterday or possibly Sunday. And my question is, I know that I had requested and asked Joseph how much equipment they have, and I don't have it right this second. Oh, here it is. He has 5 backhoes, 1 dozer, 2 land movers, 4 excavators, 3 shredders. If Precinct 1 can't take care of these people, plus the ones that are on the southeast of Edinburgh, I'm not sure exactly because I'm getting phone calls from there, would Tito or would Joseph please do an interlocal with Precinct 1 and help these people out? Hargill, I know, is out in the middle of nowhere, north of town. I don't know why it was changed and moved from Precinct 4, but the people out there said they are not getting anything since it was moved into Precinct 1. So I answered the phone, so I'm relaying it to you is why I mentioned it. 1, 2, 3, off of that, off of the Hargill one.
Okay,
And
I'm
I've
sorry.
gotten about 3 or 4 from the one south of
I'll
Edinburgh.
meet with you after the meeting.
Pardon?
I'll meet with you after the meeting.
Okay, and I'll give you the pictures. All right, and we'd also like to know, we heard through the grapevines, which is our telephone, that is it true that you're going to bring back the right-of-way department under Joe Pena? Is it true that the person that caused the problem, the dismantling of that department, will be coming back to the same department again? And if this is true, shame on y'all. This would not be done in a regular business. So if it's true, and like I say, all we can go by is the phone calls that we get, and we're coming and asking you. Also, we would like you to check out the old library building that's over in Edinburgh, or any buildings that are like that we can utilize and use to put some of our departments in, so we can get out of rented buildings, see what we can do. Instead of buying more land or anything right now, my God, we own half of, if not more than that in Hidalgo County. Take that money and build some buildings on Shady Lawn, build some buildings or something on the old Robert Chevrolet parking lot, build on the parking lot that the actual old bank building, First State Bank, right there where we have the annex building, the old administration building. And can we start something on the first and second floors over there and utilize some of the offices to help the taxpayers so that we can get out of buildings that we're renting and do something? We're just asking you to please take care of these matters. And I got a phone call and asked me about a phone. Am I through? Okay, well, I need phone numbers for the commuter rail. I had to do open records. It should be on the computer's website. You give their history.
And next presenter is Mr. Mr. Travers. Frank Travers.
He's outside.
Good morning, sir.
Once more, I want to thank you for letting me speak. I'm sorry I was laid out in the hall. We got into a discussion which I should have avoided. I want to give you a brief update on what's happening since you appointed me, and thank you, Commissioner Flores, and the whole court for confirming my appointment to the Retail Board of Directors. I haven't really been received with open arms, as you can appreciate, since you've heard the pitch which they've been making and trying to proceed aggressively with their real proposition. And I think you recall the questioning when occurred before I was appointed here about the debate whether or not rails could be made profitable in any fashion whatsoever. We're supposed to have a meeting tomorrow, which I just found in the hall. Has been changed again. Now it's going to be Thursday, I guess. These things happen so fast and furious behind the scenes. You never know when the next meeting is. At the last rail board meeting, there was a workshop scheduled with land, these supported consultants who did the feasibility study to further examine it. I didn't see the reason to have a workshop to hear them again. I read it a number of times, and I have no questions for them. It's other information I think they should be looking at. So rather than gathering one of dozens or hundreds of reports and looking at it, I'm thinking maybe I will concentrate on one thing, and that's this: can the Commuter Rail Board meet your commission, which is to develop a self-supporting commuter rail system? I think I gathered enough information last week that's more pertinent to answer that question than that complete report that we paid $400-some thousand for. I've got right here in my hand a list of every transit organization in the United States. The financial data on these organizations is brought up to date by the Federal Transit Authority. It's the only organization that has the budget and the people. The last information on this was published only about 60 days ago for the year of 2010, there were 1,363 organizations, bus, rail, ferry boat, cable car, trolley bus, as well as the main ones, of course, commuter rail, heavy rail, light rail, and bus. Each one with their fair revenue and their operating expenses is reported. Now, I'm not going to tell you what the results is, and I'm not going to tell the board. If they want to know, I'll talk to them personally or tell them how they can dig their own information out. But I will assure you, no rail organizations ever makes money. So I don't know how to slow down. I don't think I'm being listened to over there, and I don't think they're doing anything constructive that gets new information on the table. They're getting behind this feasibility study and pushing it to the hilt. And it's going to be very, very hard to get anything different to ever happen. I'm sorry to report this way, sort of a negative aspect, but these are the facts, and I think I should bring you up to date. And if any of you want to speak to me individually or personally, I'm sure you have a hard time, so many priorities to manage your time that you don't have a lot of time to set aside. But I'll be glad to meet with you anytime, anywhere. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir. At this time, pursuant of...
Can I have one final remark, Judge? At the time that that your court confirmed my appointment to the court, I made sort of a joking remark that I thought there was a potential conflict of interest, that I might have to take off my red shirt. Well, there's one thing I'm not going to take it off. There's one thing I want to show you.
You don't need to take it off. It's a
Use your blue one.
At this time, pursuant of 551-071 and 072, we're entertain a motion to proceed to executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. It's 10:43. All right, it's 11:40. We're back in open session. Mr. Guerra?
Thank you, Judge Commissioners. Under open session, item 20A, real estate acquisition appropriation for same, there is no action. We'll just proceed as directed. Item 20B, pending and/or potential litigation, there is no action at this time. Item 20C, claim of Maria Isabel Tanguma. Judge Commissioners, I would like the court to consider giving me settlement authority in the amount of $3,880.61 to make an offer.
Where's the one? 3,000?
$3,880.61.
Need a second?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 20D, claim of Esperanza G. Garcia. Judge Commissioners, I do want to refer back to item 5A1 and 2. Item 5A1, request an exemption from competitive bidding requirements under Texas Local Government Code 2620248 for professional service for the provision of legal services representation in connection with litigation. I could have a...
Need action for that?
Yes, sir.
Move approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And item 5A2, request an engagement with the firm of Bobby Guerra from the law firm of Ouellette and Guerra.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And that was specific to that claim that I just mentioned. Item 20E, claim of Jose L. Esparza. Judge Commissioners, I would like settlement authority to make an offer in the amount of $3,200.
Vote to approve.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 20F, Civil Action Number 712MC00238, Edward Avila versus Hidalgo County, Texas. Judge Commissioners, I want to disclose that we will be assigning this and turning it over to Ms. Josephine Ramirez and her office.
Move for approval.
Need a second?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 20G, Beatriz G. Nino versus County of Hidalgo and Hidalgo Head Start. Judge Commissioners, I want to refer again back to item 5A, 1 and 2. Item 5A, the exemption from committed bidding requirements, 262024A4, professional service for legal services representation in connection with litigation. If I could have a motion to that effect.
Move to approve. Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And item 5A2, requesting engagement with the firm of Preston Henriksen for legal services representation in connection with that litigation I just mentioned.
Move to second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 20H, Jesus Humberto Hernandez versus Gabriela Aguilar versus Guadalupe Lupe Trevino. Judge Commissioners, I'd like to disclose that we will be assigning this to Ms. Josephine Ramirez and her office.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 20I, Veronica Falcon versus Wells Fargo Trust Company, Vericrest Opportunity Loan Trust. For the record, I'd like to disclose that we will be assigning this to Ms. Josephine Ramirez and her office.
Move to approve.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Judge Commissioners, that is all I have at this time.
Move to adjourn.
Judge, if we can go back to item
5A.
5B.
5B, 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
All right, sir.
Judge, we have received this morning from Centennial Contractors a check, which is also the release amount for $176,683.24. And that would go to the release. And we also received the releases back from Centennial, which the court needs to sign. And it's a compromise settlement agreement and mutual release. It is not a contract. It is not a construction contract. It is a release. And the release is so that we can settle this matter and accept this check in the amount of $176,683.24 to settle this claim.
So,
And you're recommending it, correct?
I'm recommending approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Is it going to cover the entire amount of the,
It is covering the amount that was agreed on between the parties to settle this matter.
What about, I heard something about some extra money that were going to be needed for.
We were not told about that extra money. The deal has already been cut prior to that covers the construction contract
any
costs.
money left over, you send it precinct 2.
I'm sorry.
Any monies that are left over,
No, you know what, we'll tell you something, there's about $15,000 lacking, so we'll get them from you.
Yeah. Well, we don't know the amount, but I do think that it's
Yeah.
up to 15 is what Teresa had indicated.
How much was it?
Currently, I think it's at about 11 something.
11 some?
Yes.
We'll just get them from precinct 2, they went ahead and said it was okay.
Would the county be able to absorb that cost?
Judge Commissioners,
Well, can Head Start do it?
Well, Head Start can, how can I say this? We would prefer that it not be
Well-
because it takes away.
I'm sure you would, but
So that means.
We actually, when we first got started and before we engaged, we had been told by the company that they would cover it, so we were anticipating the company to reimburse us. That's how it was
Well,
spent.
It wouldn't cost us to make another phone call, Steve, maybe there's something, another check.
Or they could say no.
They
to
could
this
say no,
deal.
but what if they say yes?
Up to the court.
Just try it.
so we can approve it and
But
authorize
we
it.
can't approve this now, because this would settle the entire matter.
Well, the problem is that delay, if we don't approve it, you're not going to get started.
No,
But we can't
no,
get started
all
till the
my
money
question,
clears.
no, I'm willing to
We can't
find the
take
money if I
action
have to
to
because I
accept
can't afford the delay in terms of services and the program and the jeopardy, that it places the enrollment in and all of that. There's just complications about program funding if we don't get to be able to open.
Will you be able to find those 11,000?
I will look very closely, but I was hoping that somehow we would be able to get some help.
given the fact that we didn't anticipate in spending that money based on the company's agreement to pay for it.
Does the grant allow you to make those kind of payments?
The
Because
grant allows us to keep the children safe, and that's part of
So basically, we
safety.
can't approve this.
The issue is
This is
if you
complete
want to go
waste.
back to
Right.
15, you can't accept this check or approve these documents.
The problem is that we've already worked, we
already
have a
cut the deal.
settlement, do we not?
We have a settlement.
Subject to us saying yes here?
Right.
Yeah.
And
But
accepting
you've
the
already
check.
cut the terms and.
Right.
you
We were
negotiated it.
told, at the very beginning, we didn't know about the engineering fees. We were told to get the quote from the contractor as to what it's going to cost to do the construction work.
Somebody dropped the ball.
We submitted the contract that our attorney had put together to Mr. Crane's office, and it had the cost in there. When the new contract was drafted, it did not include that cost.
How did
Where
the-
it was dropped, I
How
don't
did the
know.
architect and engineer go into provide services without this type of agreement, though?
Pardon?
Who was supposed to pay them?
We went ahead and put it in our cost, as a program cost to get the work done.
Oh, so you've already got it there then?
Well, we had to do it, but we did it, before we did it, we did contact the company who agreed to pay for it. However, in all the process that occurred, that got, on the
So they
side.
agreed to pay for it at the beginning, but it wasn't provided as part of this agreement?
That's correct. It was not
So you have
provided.
the money then?
Well, then make the call, Steve.
Then we can't approve this release.
I know.
No.
And so then you're going to
No.
wait another
No.
two
No.
weeks or so.
I would beg the court not to do that, because we need to be able to open. If $15,000 is what I have
So
to work, I
what
will.
it would mean, Teresa, is that your program would pay for the engineering cost. The settlement is separate and apart from that.
Yes, sir. At this point, that's what it is.
Yeah.
My only
So-
question was, would the court consider?
And to avoid
um,
any delays, the court
Yes,
has
yes,
approved the
yes, sir.
settlement.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
everything's taken care of.
Yes, sir. You're right. I need it approved. We need to move. We only
Steve,
have.
we're going to approve it probably, but, that still doesn't keep you from calling it. Maybe
We can
the-
still call, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, but legally, they'd have no reason to.
I understand the
do that.
settlement's in place, but they, I'm sure would want to do business with the county in the future.
No, but they would probably be like me, Steve. They probably say yes.
We just
There-
need the cost.
Yes.
We need the actual cost,
Yes.
what you're asking for.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this agreement. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Make the call anyway.
And item B2,
Now, B2 is separate. B2 is under the construction contract you approved last week. And B2 would give the notice to proceed to start the construction contract. The only thing I would say before you approve that, I'm sure the check is valid, but I'd say it'd be subject to Valdi letting, what notice to proceed is issued, confirming that the funds have cleared your depository bank.
I thought the order to proceed was already issued.
Subject
The
to funding, I think
ratification
it
of the
was, no?
notice.
I think it's subject to funding.
I
subject
think
to,
we approved the subject to funding.
Okay.
Okay.
and now we have a check, and we just want to make sure it clears.
Yes. Can that check go directly so we will deal with it?
The check is in the amount of $176,683.24. That check from Centennial Contractors Enterprises is made out to Hidalgo County. And so
Okay.
if that is the case, then we would then have to deposit and then cut a check
To them.
to Head Start
Well, either Head Start or the company.
or the company.
Well, the company would be.
We would be managing, just like you manage any other project, paying as you go in terms of completion of work.
But I believe the contract is in the legal name of the county.
Upon approval of the structural engineer as the work proceeds, I don't believe that we want to give a check to the company and let the company take care of it.
Okay. All right, so then it'll be a motion to authorize the Head Start program to issue the notice to proceed as we've been.
Subject to Valdi confirming that the funds have cleared.
Have cleared.
Motion approved.
Judge, also, the understanding is that Head Start program is going to pay for the engineering and architectural
Yeah.
cost.
If the phone call does not work.
That's part of it.
All right.
All right,
Who's to
we
make
need a
the call?
motion and a second.
The attorney.
Steve will make the call.
I just need the amount from you.
Yes.
Is there a motion
Yes.
and a second?
Yes.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. It's 11:52. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.